All right, so now that we have the diamond, I mean the club shape and the cards and the shadow, we're gonna create the diamond shape. And with the diamond shape, we're gonna utilize the same types of things that we did here. We're gonna have two circles, and then but we're gonna use a rectangle shape. Actually, we're gonna have the rectangle tool and the ellipse tool. So I'm going to create my circle, use Option to duplicate, and then I'm going to create a square by holding Shift. Oops. And then with that square, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Shift to rotate, and it's going to snap to a 45-degree angle. Okay, so I'll do it again, and I'll put it like right here in the center of these shapes. And if I go into my outline mode, basically what I want to try to do is I want to create this shape or this look. This center point is right here in the middle of these two circles. Put my mouse to the outside, hold Shift, and snap into place. Now the goal, now I may have to make this a little bit bigger, but the goal is to create this shape so that, wow, that was kind of perfect. Create the shape that's large enough so that each corner and each end basically lines up with the circles, the edges of the circles. And then when I press Command Y, that lines up perfectly. Okay. And the same thing that we did for the stem here, we're going to do again. So I can use the circles that I already have, duplicate them, and basically I can move them. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And maybe that's too thick, so 1, 2, 1, 2. And then move them up like so. And so this is basically right here, this is basically the length of what I want that stem to be. So the box shape, I'm going to duplicate again. So I'm going to take this and I'll take you and you, actually you. So just so I can illustrate it in the video, if I right click, I'm going to copy this, right? So this would be if I want it to be in front or back or anything like that. But basically what I want to do is I want to edit, copy, and then I want to edit, paste in front, because this is the shape that I want. So I'll take this and this, move it over. So I have this. I'm going to take this shape, rotate it back here, move it down, just to illustrate it for the video purposes. This is what it looks like. I want to make sure in my layers that this rectangular shape is below the circles. Okay. And as I select the circles and the rectangle shape, I want to make sure that this rectangle shape is filled with white. So I can press D on the keyboard to make that into our default colors. So I want to fill it with white. And then I can select all three at the same time. In my properties palette, go down to minus front. So with that shape, I can go right here and add this right into my option here. I can turn it black, take the stroke off, and if I wanted to, I can definitely um, change how long this how long this stem is. So right now it's just pretty long. It's pretty intense in terms of like it's not as thick as I want it to be or whatever. But this is basically how you do it. You can always go back and tweak. Another way to go back and tweak, I'm gonna press Command Z. Another way to tweak this is instead of doing the permanent minus front selection, what I can do is as I click on minus front, I can hold the option key, and what it does is it allows me to adjust as I go. So I'm gonna reverse this, take off the stroke, and I still have the ability with my group selection tool, I still have the ability to modify how these shapes interact with each other. So I can take this and let's say I move it in place, and now let's say this is the way it looks, but I don't like it. It's too long. I can take this and I say, okay, you know what? I want to make this shape shorter, and I want these circles to move up, and maybe this is too wide, so I can take this and bring it in. And so now you start to shape this into what you think it should be. Maybe the circles are too big. I can double click on this. Bring down the circles. So because we didn't make the shape permanent, when we option click, we're able to modify a lot easier. And these circles can be determined on how how big the circles that you use on the sides are. Like I can take this and possibly move it out here, and I can take this and move it out there, and take this and move it up. And so you have a lot more options and flexibility on how you work with these circles. Okay. So to recap, basically what we've done is we use the circle shapes and the box shape to combine, right, as one by using unite, or press option and unite. And so now as they move, they still share the same shapes and things like that. And then we also used the Pathfinder to minus the front and then combine these shapes together. If you were to do this like with a pen tool or something like that, you would have to do a lot more work in terms of click, drag, try to get the curvature right, come here, then come back, come down, and come across, and come up. So you have to do a lot more work, and there's a lot more room for error in terms of getting it right using the pen tool. Another way is using the curvature tool, where I have a box and I can click on the curvature tool and kind of create these shapes this way, but then again you start getting into are you doing it the best way? I can take this kind of move out like that. You know, so you start to modify, and if you worked it and worked it and worked it, you can get it right. But it's just really good to know that you can take those things and you can start to create just by using the basic shapes. Right. So if you took time, you can get anything the right way. But this is all about saving time and getting things the way you want them. Okay. So for your job is to make the shapes correctly. Take some time, make them correctly. Take these shapes, add them to the cards, and then also you have a couple of shapes back here that have some style to them. So they have multiple strokes. This has a white stroke and I think it's a gray stroke behind it. So we'll start to talk about the graphic style now.